once again, in that statement, he says friends. You know, they're friends. That's why they act alike. They are not friends. He knows they're not friends. Everyone knows they're not friends. So what is the purpose of answering a question and saying something? Maybe here, let me be charitable. Maybe he truly is the only person in the world who does not know that the two of these girls had a tremendous falling out.
Things aren't looking good for the new and unimproved comment section show from the Daily Wire. Seems to be some panic going on over there as Jeremy Boring released this kind of weird and honestly kind of desperate video trying to guilt Brett Cooper into defending Reagan, the new host. And Candace Owens just isn't having it. Let's see what Candace Owens has to say about the situation.
That Brett Cooper can't be bothered to defend Reagan Conrad, especially since Brett recommended her as a replacement for the host of the comment section to Jeremy Boring. I only hope Brett eventually releases a statement of some kind to combat the vicious rumors. Now, parking aside, first off, this is very clearly an account that's pretending to be a man. No man starts a tweet with, it's extremely upsetting. You're talking about a 23-year-old girl, okay? If you are the grown adult man that is pictured in that photo, you need to get a life. Extremely upsetting. Oh my gosh. And now I see there's a new narrative that is being launched, which is Brett Cooper.
Is this an undercover soy boy, like an undercover libtard or something, masking as like a mega guy? I mean, yeah, look at this profile picture, and then yeah, that language, extremely upsetting. Like, no, dude, you need some more tea in your system, some more of that testosterone.
Is a bad friend, and I'm going, what's happening here? So I watched this video, and apparently, I'll give you the context here. Jeremy Boring, the CEO, co-CEO of Daily Wire, released a commentary, and I think it is very fair to categorize it as extraordinarily passive-aggressive. Okay, so I'm watching and I'm going, is it just me or does this just seem off? Like something here is just off. And it turns out the entire internet read it exactly that way. And it's now everywhere and people are commenting on how off it really is. And so to tee this up, I don't know why he's answering questions. This could be, we used to do this thing like sort of, you get to ask us questions, but it's usually for the host. I don't know the context of whether this is an all access live, but somebody asked him a question about mean comments and mean feedback that Reagan Conrad was getting on her show. And, you know, the show is not taking off sort of a thing. So he answers it, and I'm paraphrasing here, by saying, well, actually, he explicitly says Reagan is amazing. And also the comment section was not Brett's. Essentially, we created the show at the Daily Wire. Brett is tremendously talented. He says she's talented. She's great. She made the show her own, but also it was successful because of our marketing department, essentially. Like, it's not just Brett's, it's ours. And by the way, Reagan produced the show and also helped to write it. Okay. So I'm now going to cut to this YouTuber named The Quartering, who goes through what it is exactly that Jeremy says in this video so that you can just assess. Like, I think honestly, The Quartering, every thought that I had in my brain watching it, he kind of just said it. Here you go. Here's the first thing.
What Reagan hasn't done is taking...
I just want to prepare you for this YouTube inception. Cool Vic is going to be reacting to Candace Owens, reacting to The Quartering's reaction to Jeremy Boring's video. That is some premium inception stuff right there.
...classes to be more like Brett Cooper. That is just completely absurd. And it's hurt my feelings a little bit that Brett hasn't done more to defend her friend.
Whoa. So now, guy worth $100 million with $1 billion company is saying that Brett Cooper hurt his feelings because she hasn't defended Reagan, who is not Jeremy Boring, is not related to Jeremy Boring, has nothing to do with Jeremy. Why is his feelings hurt? He's like trying to guilt her into making some sort of statement promoting her old show, which she has absolutely no obligation to do.
And also, they're not friends. And so the language of making it seem like they are presently friends, and you would therefore be, I know, the whole world knows that they're not friends. So why would you be hurt by someone not promoting a show of their former friend? And also, I'm going to ask the question, can she even speak out about this? Because it certainly doesn't look like it. And, NDAs are industry standard. So that also is another question. Then there kind of gets to this portion where he's speaking about acting classes, and I will just let Quartering take this part away as well.
And now for my thoughts. It's also another tactic that Jeremy Boring has used before. This whole, it kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. My feelings are so hurt that Brett Cooper doesn't want to defend her supposed friend. He has to know that they're not friends. Like, what is this going on here? And number two, he used this tactic during the Steven Crowder feud. When he put out his own video and he's like, how can Steven do this to me? I thought we were friends. Yeah, they were such close friends, he didn't even know about their divorce. That's how close friends that Steven Crowder and Jeremy Boring were. But he used that to try to get sympathy for him in the situation. It's a little manipulation tactic that Jeremy Boring likes to use in his video.
Reagan's enormously talented. She's been an enormous part of building the comment section for the last 2 years. And I've never sent her to an acting lesson. She's never asked me to send her to an acting lesson. I've never asked her to do anything to be more like Brett. If anything, we've told her make the show as much your own as you can while maintaining the format. But she is like Brett because they are friends and collaborators, have been collaborators on the show. It's actually ironic because I did send Brett to various kinds of lessons as a performer.
Oh, shade? Shade? Uh-oh.
Performer, not acting lessons. Brett's a terrific actress and always, the entire time I've known her, she has been, as will be evident when you see the Pendragon cycle. But I did send her to dancing lessons and singing lessons in preparation for her role as Snow White. I sent her to dialogue coaching sessions to help her with her role in the Pendragon cycle. And that's good. That's like...
I feel like this is kind of a backhanded compliment. He's basically saying like, well, I had to do all this stuff for Brett Cooper, but he's like couching it by, it's like a compliment sandwich. He's saying, oh yeah, she's just so great. Well, I did send her to dancing lessons, vocal lessons, dialogue lessons, this lesson, that lesson.
So real.
But she's fantastic. This is classic passive-aggressive compliment sandwich boss talk.
That's how I read it. It just felt very backhanded, and I'm not sure why. I don't know why this is happening right now, why people can't just move on and have an amicable split, or if it's not amicable, just move on. Like, again, she's 23 years old. And once again, in that statement, he says friends. They're friends. That's why they act alike. They are not friends. He knows they're not friends. Everyone knows they're not friends. So what is the purpose of answering a question and saying something? Maybe here, let me be charitable. Maybe he truly is the only person in the world who does not know that the two of these girls had a tremendous falling out that the entire internet reported on due to her taking over the show. Like, maybe he's the only person who does not know that Brett unfollowed Reagan and deleted all. Maybe he's the only guy and he's really just being like, wow, I think they're still friends right now. Maybe that is true. But I don't think that's true. I think he knows they're not friends, and he's saying this in a way that I just can't comprehend what is the actual purpose of this. And it does feel like a backhanded compliment towards a 23-year-old girl. And then he sort of gets into like why the audience doesn't accept Reagan, like why the show is failing. And here's what he had to say.
It's desperation, man. The show is tanking, and so he's getting desperate. That's what this is, man. Instead of trying to play it cool or do something to fix the show or fix it, he's now lashing out, blaming everyone else but himself, as you'll see right now.
And the audience. Whenever Reagan would guest host the comment section, the audience loved her. The comments were almost universally positive. In fact, many of the things that they're now criticizing her for in the comments were the things that they liked most about her.
Well, that's because she wasn't replacing her then. She was simply filling in.
I do like this guy's like very common sense. Like everyone, yeah, it's a little different if I'm like, hey, Brett's going to fill in for me. And I was like, oh my God, great. I love to see that they're friends. And then like afterwards, you're like, just kidding. Brett was pretending to be her friend and she stabbed Candace in the throat. And now she's got her job. Like there's obviously a difference in how the audience is going to receive that. There's an emotional understanding here that I think is perhaps being missed. But now it sort of becomes like the audience fault. And this is how he concludes that thought about the audience suddenly not liking this show anymore.
when they didn't know that Brett was leaving the show. And for that reason, I know that most of these attacks on Reagan are completely unfair. They're completely disingenuous. People aren't really raising these criticisms. They're either helping to craft or buying into a narrative which has been crafted by people who want the Daily Wire to fail and want Reagan to fail in the role. And both will be disappointed because Reagan will not fail in this role. And the Daily Wire will not fail. We continue to grow and we continue to succeed. And business is hard. And we'll go through you're always going to go through a little bit of a downturn in audience after a very popular host leaves a show.
So to me, this is a tremendous lowering of the office of the CEO. It seems like he's engaging in high school drama and theatrics and doing it in a way in which he's trying to throw some tar on Brett Cooper's name, but simultaneously saying to the audience, like, accusing them of wanting to see the Daily Wire fail. It's like, no, they just don't like the show, man. Like it's that easy. They don't like the new host of the show. It doesn't mean nobody's rooting against. I've never even heard or met this girl, Reagan Conrad. I just don't think the audience likes the show. I think they appreciated Brett in that role. And I don't think you can just blame the markets and say, well, you're going to see, like, we are going to be successful. Like, there seems to be this like underlying anger and upset there that the audience doesn't like it. It's literally, we saw this meme circulating on the internet. It's this meme for the comment section. Jeremy Boring shoots the comment section with Brett Cooper, then turns around and goes, how could Brett Cooper do this? How could she do this to us? It's okay, totally fine. And if you think, or if you constantly see yourself as like the victim of this, as opposed to just taking it on the chin and saying, they don't like this, let me create something else, it's not going to change. You know what I mean? It's not going to change. And the comments section pertaining to Jeremy's comments on the comment section reveal that. These are just, by the way, the top posts in order under the Quarterings video. This is not interrupted whatsoever. So the guy who made her sign an NDA wants her to speak about something she probably isn't even allowed to speak about. Oh yeah, I'm sure that's not entrapment or anything like that. These people are vile. Are they trying to destroy their company and credibility? Because that's what it looks like. Next person. None of that explains why Brett unfollowed Reagan and Jeremy on all social media and why she deleted the maid of honor photos. Like, no one's being fooled by this. He's upset that the comment section was a cash cow with Brett and he didn't realize how much value she was actually worth. The only reason the DW didn't start an entirely new channel for Reagan was that they didn't want to throw away the 4.7 million subs and start over. It was purely out of greed and a numbers decision, in my opinion. I think Jeremy is confusing his feelings with his wallet, since Reagan barely draws 10% of the views that Brett did. A good CEO doesn't go around talking about his feelings. Why does he publicly call out Brett? Can he not just call her up and explain the problem and ask her to say something? This attempt at public shaming to force her is disgusting. Jeremy Boring 100% tells his employees that we're a family here right before he throws them under the bus that Ben is driving. The fact that Brett hasn't said anything and that she unfollowed Reagan on social media along with everything else tells me that there were definitely hurt feelings. Last three here. When you quit a job, it's not your job to get involved in the former employer's issues. That's correct. Jeremy Boring once again attacking ex-staff while holding them to strict NDAs. It shows you who he is. Lastly, the DW did Reagan a disservice by trying to insert her into Brett's show instead of launching Reagan's own show. And I really think that if they had paid attention to the comments and what people were saying as all this was going on, as opposed to just thinking that, well, you could just do this and replace, they wouldn't be in the situation in the first place. But it's just, like I said, tremendously unfair, ridiculous to assume that people are rooting against you or anybody's coordinating. I don't know the quartering. Joe Rogan is speaking about this yesterday with Warren Smith, like the guy who got fired for being sensible about the trans issue. He's been on the Daily Wire. He's following this saga and telling Joe Rogan about it. And they're questioning like the business decisions at the Daily Wire. There's no conspiracy here. This is a big thing that happened. People have a right to respond to it. People have a right to be concerned about it. And if you're going to carry on blaming other people and especially blaming a 23-year-old girl, it's not going to be a good look, and to whoever it is that's behind the scenes trying to orchestrate these pieces about Brett, it's nasty business. She's a young girl. You got to be able to break up sometimes and not have drama. And I'm not implying that that's Daily Wire. I'm telling you exactly who I got contacted by, Hollywood Reporter and The Spectator. I'm just saying that whoever is doing it, it's dirty business and it's not helping the businesses that you think that you're helping. It's certainly not helping Reagan's show by trying to throw mud on Brett Cooper, who hasn't even come back out yet. Ladies and gentlemen, that said.
Real quick, I think it's weird that Candace Owens keeps referring to her as a 23-year-old girl. I mean, I know Brett Cooper Cooper is a 23-year-old girl, but I feel like that's kind of like it's like her little manipulation tactic. Like, oh, they're just going after a poor little 23-year-old girl. So like, she's an adult. I feel like you're trying to paint her as helpless or something. Like, no, she's a grown adult. I don't see what her being a 23-year-old girl has to do with any of this. Anyway, about Jeremy Boring and the Daily Wire, they could have done the switch out. Like, if they really didn't want to sacrifice their subs and their viewership on the comment section, if you are going to do that, there is a way to do it where it's not so messy. In the end, I don't think the problem is that they replaced Brett Cooper. I think that it was so sloppily done, and it was so messy. A lot of negative energy there. When the people hear that Brett Cooper is no longer following Reagan, who was her best friend and in her wedding and such, it tells people that something went down there. This was not an amicable split. Also, when you don't have a proper passing of the torch episode, if there was no bad blood there, you could have had a passing of the torch episode where Brett Cooper and Reagan could have done a last episode together, and Brett Cooper and them, they could have hugged like, oh, besties, oh my God, Reagan, like, I wish you so much luck. You're going to do such a good job. You're going to kill it. You know, oh my God, thank you, Brett. Yes, I'm so excited to be the new host of the comment section. Oh, hugs, girl besties. You know, they could have done something like that, and it could have brought some good energy to the show, positive energy. And the show could have continued, and the show probably would have lost some viewers anyway, but it wouldn't have tanked as hard. In the end of the day, it's not just because they switched hosts. It's because it was so messy. Like, clearly something happened behind the scenes, and it's bringing a ton of negative energy to it. And having Reagan's cousin make a video trying to guilt Brett into defending Reagan, and now the CEO Jeremy Boring now making a video trying to guilt Brett Cooper into saying something positive about Reagan, you're not, yeah, like Candace said, you're not helping much. You're only making it worse. I hope if the show ends up failing, I hope Jeremy Boring and the Daily Wire, I hope they learn a lesson from this. Not necessarily you can't replace hosts. I mean, TV shows, rock bands, they've replaced lead singers, they've replaced hosts, and the show was able to continue on. So you can get away with replacing a host. It was just the messy and shady way that it was done. Clearly, it was bad, and people like Brett. People like her. So if they felt she was screwed over in some way, they're going to take her side, and they're not going to watch the new comment section. So yes, Jeremy Boring, take a lesson in that. What do you guys think about this, though? Sound off in the comment section below. Smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed today's clip. That will be really helping me out a lot. And if you did enjoy today's clip, I got more Candace Owens videos, and I just got more awesome videos in general that I think you guys will enjoy.